Greetings traders, it's Mohan here, and I'm going to do a demonstration here both live and on still charts of the crude oil trading on Boomerang Day Trader. It's quite astonishing, the results. You'll see those in just a second. Before we get started, please be sure to read and understand the risk disclosure statement. Futures is very high risk trading business, and losses can occur and will occur, and you should just be able to accept those losses as part of the business. Only risk capital should be employed for trading, and only those with sufficient risk capital should even be considered trading the futures markets. These are hypothetical performances that you're going to see here, although this is a live recording of trading sessions that produced an astonishing amount of winning trades. They have to be considered hypothetical. And once you trade them in your own account, then they won't be hypothetical anymore, will they? So we're going to get started right now, and thank you very much. Okay, as we get started in this video, I first of all want to let you know that this is going to be a pretty lengthy video, probably about an hour or so in length. And the reason I say that is because I'm going to demonstrate live Boomerang trading here. Now I'm using this in simulation on a recorded session because the NinjaTrader system here allows you to record, set it so that you can record all the sessions that go on. So this is NinjaTrader here, and we're using a 450 tick chart for crude oil. This is a November contract here, and I'm going to explain it first to you, and then I will go into the live trading setups, and I will be stopping and starting this along the way and speeding it up between areas where there are no trades so you can understand it. First, I'll go over things a little more carefully in still charts so you can understand. Now, this is a West Coast chart, so the times are going to be a little different from an East Coast chart. For East Coast, just add 3 hours, and Mountain Time add 2 hours. Now, the way Boomerang works is that I'll just go over the method. Now, first of all, this is in pre-market. Now, crude oil trades around the clock, but it's not so active in the off hours in Globex. But I'll just show you an example of how it works so you can see what a winning trade looks like. Okay, first of all, it's really simple. In fact, Boomerang is known for being one of the simplest and easiest methods to trade with. In addition to that, we're the only trading software in the history of the markets that's going back to the 1900s, the early 1900s. The first trading system software in the markets that guarantees 90% winning trades on both the crude oil and the mini NASDAQ contract. You'll get a very high percentage of winners on other contracts too, and I'm getting many traders. We have many traders, thousands from around the world, who are also reporting 90% winning trades in many other contracts. However, I recommend for most traders starting out, just trade the mini NASDAQ or the crude oil contract, and as you get a little bit experienced, trade them both side by side. When one is slow, you can switch to the other. With those two contracts, you're going to pretty much have a career unless crude oil stops being used as a commodity and the U.S. stock market shuts down. Ideally, without those two events happening, you're going to have yourself a career for the next 20, 30 years trading these two markets with Boomerang, making a very decent living, we hope, by following the rules. So, the way it works is you get an arrow here showing a buy channel. Let me switch over real quick to a pointer. I just right click on the chart, select cursor, and go to pointer. You get an arrow which is opening a new buy channel. It's alarmed, so you'll know exactly when it's going off. And when the candle, the 450 tick candle closes, which you'll see over here because there's a ticks chart here showing the remaining amount of ticks in that 450 candle, after it slowly moves down to zero, it'll produce a new candle. So the trade channel opens with the arrow. Nothing is done with Boomerang until the trade channel opens. Once the trade channel opens, we then look to see if we have the right trade configuration. On crude oil, it's very simple. All that means is as these two bands here, this is called the dynamic trend band number 1 and the dynamic trend band number 2. The thicker one, the solid line, is number 2. This is number 1. They're both going to be vital for setting up trades. Above that, we have this dotted line, which is called the Cobra, and that's basically just used as a way of reading the markets to see when a setup is going to occur, because it's usually going to front run the dynamic trend bands a little. See how the color is changing green here a little bit before these two? The next thing we have is this very thin dash line running through. That's called the trade signal line, and that is designed to produce the trade entries. Now, this is what's unique about Boomerang also, is that you get exact, crystal clear, very specific entries. And I'll give you the method for the entry and the exit in a second, but you need to understand that. And it's also important to understand that when the market pulls back to the signal line, within 6 candles of the new buy or sell channel opening up, it'll print a dot that is alarmed, a blue dot in the case of buy and a yellow dot in the case of sell, on the signal line, and that's going to be your entry. The first pullback to the signal line after the channel candle closes. It has to close. So the first entry on this particular buy trade would be right here. However, you have to understand the conditions first, and that is the dynamic trend bands have to either be crossing exactly, which they are right here, right in this candle, on this pullback, they're crossing over, or they're matching color. Now, if they're matching color, this dynamic trend band number 1 can be below the dynamic trend band number 2 in the case of a buy, and it can be above in the case of sell. It doesn't matter. If they're matching, you have a trade signal. If they're exactly at the crossover, and dynamic trend band number 1, in this case of a buy channel, is blue, the buy color, you have a trade setup. That's all there is to it. The crossover or the matching colors, and you're going to see many, many examples of this. So what we do on crude oil is I say this: we look for a 8 to 10 tick gain. Most of these are going to be 10 ticks, and a 13 tick stop. Now, right now, the percentage of winning ratio on crude oil, I don't want to scare you away here, but it's running about 97% winners over losers. So a lot of traders I talk to, they get all worried about the ratio of the winners and the losers. Well, first of all, 10 tick gain, 13 tick loss, very reasonable win-loss rate, or gain over loss. However, out of 100 trades, only maybe 5 of those are going to get stopped out, or 1 out of 10. So you don't have to worry so much about stops. You can stop worrying about those. That's from your past. If you own Boomerang, your past is over. You follow the methods I show you here, and you'll be able to move on to a whole new dimension in trading. You won't have to worry about all those things of the past. But you got to follow the rules. You got to be a little bit intelligent to follow the rules and not let the old habits get you to become emotional and make the wrong trades. So here's the first trade. I'm going to switch back now to a cursor just to show you. Now again, this is a Globex trade, so it's not even one we would have taken. I'm just showing it as a demonstration. And it's actually a good one because it's right at the crossover, which is one of the setups. You see the dynamic trend band number 2 is still the magenta color. But because of the crossover, it allows you permission to trade right on that pullback signaling there. And if you missed it, you can always grab this one too. But here's the buy arrow opening the new channel. You can see it in the shaded area here, the green shading. It closes, they pull back to the signal line, and that exact price you can see is $44.59 on the crude oil November contract at 2:18 and 21 seconds on 9/26. By the way, the date on this is a real recent chart. I'm going to show you 2 charts, 9/26 and 9/28 today. And again, I'm going to show you the system trading live, and I'll stop and start it to do narrations on the trade setup and making sure you understand those in relation to what I'm showing you now. This will be a very informative video. And again, with live trading from the recording of the session done that day. 44.59, you see right here, jumps up immediately up to 44.78. So there was 10 ticks in there, right? All we're using the last two digits. 59 jumping to 79. That's actually 20 ticks, right? All we're going to take is 10 ticks. Trust me on this until you get used to using Boomerang. Take 10 ticks, put a $100 bill in your pocket per contract, per one contract on crude. It's $10 a tick. Put a $100 bill in your pocket and be very happy, because on this day, 9/26, which will be starting just at the other end of the screen at approximately 5:45 my time, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 winning trades and one stopped out. So that's 80 minus 13. That's 67 ticks times $10 is $670. You with me so far? $10 a tick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 winners, one stopped out trade. It was during a whipsaw period. It's going to happen once in a while. So $670 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 trades. Your commission is, I always use $4.50 as a good average on the commission. You shouldn't pay much more than that. 9 times $4.50 is $40 commission. So your net gain on this day that I'm going to show you, and I'm going to show you live too, is $630. Now, doesn't sitting at your, commuting to your office, which takes about 2 minutes in your home, sitting down at your desk and working for 3, 4, 5 hours at home with a lot of free time in between trades, doesn't that make a lot of sense? Isn't that exciting? And it is. It totally is. Now, I don't want to shock you, but 9/28, which I'm going to show you also, that session was a lot more active. On 9/28, as I mentioned, it was a little more active. There were 14 winning trades and no losses. Now again, remember the rule I showed you about the hypothetical performance rule and all that. I want to make you understand really clearly that what I'm going to show you can be live trades when you take the live trades, and it's $10 a tick, but I'm showing you that there are 14 winning trades at approximately 10 ticks each. I say 8 to 10 because some of them you might get a little slippage on your entry. You're going to go in there and grab. You're going to want to measure from the entry shown by the arrow dot to 10 ticks. You just run your cursor up there. I'll show you how to do this as we progress. You run your cursor up there and you say, okay, here's 59 and here's 69. So if you bought them, somehow you're a little slow to buy them and you got it at 61, you're still going to want to get out at 69. You see what I'm saying? You're going to want to go in there and do that. But there's plenty of trades every day. You're going to make good money doing this if you follow the rules and the method I'm showing. But I just want you to know that I don't want to talk too much about money made here, but more in terms of winning trade setups and how many ticks that produce. But you can know that it's $10 a tick. So on that particular day, that 140 ticks would have been $1,400. And on 14 round turn commissions at $4.50, that's $63. So that nets out plus $1,300, which is pretty darn good for a day of working at home. Keep in mind too that just in one contract, we have a lot of traders doing 4, 5, 20 contracts, 10, it just depends. you can imagine if you did 5 contracts, you're talking about a $6,000 type day. But again, I don't want to refer too much to money. This is not a sales presentation. I'm just trying to show you a very straight presentation, a Boomerang day trader live trading crude oil on a 450 tick chart, which is our standard default chart for crude oil and for trading mini NAS. Okay, moving forward with our preliminary, I want to show you something else. Here's why this is not a Boomerang trade. Now maybe you can tell me if you were paying attention on the first part of this tape. Why is this not a Boomerang trade? That's right, because the trade channel opened here, but we do not have matching color dynamic trend band number 1 with number 2, nor do we have them crossing over. The crossover occurred here. And I'll get into this more as we dive into this our study of the live Boomerang. But another rule of the crossover is the dynamic trend band number 2 has to be flat when there's a crossover. And the way you determine that is very, very simple, just common sense. You take your cursor and you lay it right as they're crossing, you lay that right on the dynamic trend band number 2, and if it's flat across the board, the cursor line and the dynamic trend band will match, just as you see here. Let me show you an example of not a flat line. If I put the cursor right here, you can see there's this whole, what I often joke, call it like a slice of pizza there. That's like a little slice of pizza going out from the cursor and up there. That is not a flat dynamic trend band. It's not flat here either. It appears flat, but the real test is the cursor. You put the cursor on there, you'll get real good at using your cursor, and that's what would set up a Boomerang trade. Now there's a couple little modification rules I'll show you along the way, but I just want you to understand this is not a Boomerang trade at these pullback to the sig lines here. Okay? So we're going to get started here now, and let me fire up the simulator here. Now I'm going to put it at slightly, what time is it? 5:44, I believe. And they're slowly ticking here. You can see the market ticking away. We're watching for a trade after 5:45 or later, which would be, like I said, 8:45 Eastern time. And we'll be trading up to 11:30, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. Now, you can see they're just moving real slow because it technically opens right around 6 o'clock our time. So I'm just going to speed this up a little bit here. And we're going to watch the prices tick. And we're going to watch for a trade setup after 5:45. It's currently trading 5:38 on this chart here. It's got to just get warmed up, but if I put the cursor right on the candle, you can see it here, 5:40 right now coming in. Now what I'm going to do is widen this out too. I don't like scrunched up little videos. I like nice wide videos so you can see exactly what's going on. Okay, now I'm going to slow this down just a little bit here. I had it on 8 times speed. It's just a recording of the exact session. So there's, it's just as if we're trading live, but I have the advantage. And of course, if I made a live tape, this video I'm making for you here would be 8 hours long, and who wants to sit through an 8-hour long video? Okay, so we're just watching the market here. Now, again, I'm going to narrate where the setups are occurring. Now, first of all, notice that the dynamic trend bands are very close to crossing over. Nothing yet, but very close to that. You see that? So there's no trade or anything yet. We're just watching and letting the market wiggle its way around. A little whipsaw candle coming in here. Now the candles are colored according to the trade signal lines, very sensitive, so you'll get in candlestickology, hollow candles are bullish, solid candles are ones that are bearish, moving lower, And of course, in the middle, you get whipsaw. Now, I define whipsaw in these candles as, these extended length type candles. There's no exact measure on crude oil, but you can tell when they're whipsawing around. And there's this present in all the markets. So right now, we're just watching here to see what happens in the markets. I'm going to speed this up a little bit so we can see if a trade starts to develop. Still a lot of whipsaw going on. Again, this tape is going to be at least an hour today, this session, because I'm showing you the live trading of Boomerang here. And it's going to take some time, even with speeding up the tape and everything. But I'm trying to do this to facilitate the understanding of our many people who are excited about Boomerang and who have attended my free bi-weekly webinars or have watched recordings of those, and they say, God, I just want to see Boomerang working live. We get very few of those. Actually, many buy it just because the still charts are the same as the live charts. These dots that print on the signal line and everything are going to be permanently on the chart forever. They don't print on the signal line unless it hit there. So there's no way of thinking a live chart's that much different other than you have the emotions of these prices flying all over the place. I'm very sympathetic to that. I trade every day, so I'm well aware of that. But ultimately, if you learn the rules and method of Boomerang, those are fixed rules. They're not fudgeable or it coulda, woulda, shoulda, maybe been like this. We don't have that type of deal going on with Boomerang day traders. Rock solid rules. And so what you've got now, I'm stopping it here so I can show you this. Notice here, we're getting some whipsaw coming in, but the dynamic trend bands are nice and flat. Notice we've got a new buy channel opening up here. And we have the dynamic trend bands are now matching color. You with me on that? So I'm going to put on one-time speeder. So with that configuration, if we get a pullback to the signal line, a dot will print on the signal line unless something changes and the market moves in a different direction or something. But if we get a print on the signal line, then we're going to enter on that print on the signal line as long as the dynamic trend bands are still matching the color here. So this is what you would be doing if you owned Boomerang right now and you're trading live with it. You'd be watching this here. It's 10 minutes to 6, and I say quarter to 6, quarter to 9 Eastern Standard Time. That's fine time to trade. It's usually the market starts getting active then, and then after 6 you're off and running for the next 5.5 hours or so. Or what I often do is I'll tell traders, if you get 4 or 5 winners in a row, you made $500 if you're trading 2, 3, 4 contract. For God's sakes, it's a good morning. Take the day off. Come back and hit them tomorrow. Don't burn yourself out trading. It's one of my rules. We have to state the rules of the exchanges. The futures exchanges let you know that it's high risk. But one of my rules is don't burn yourself out trading. These markets will be here. You'll be able to get involved in them. Now, on Boomerang, all we're using is the buy at the market, sell at the market to enter the trades. We're accepting that slippage may occur, but at the same time, you see, I know right where the signal line is because you see it's currently traded red, off red color. See that 4507 right here? And you notice the candle is colored the off red. So I know exactly where the signal line is. So you can watch, and this is what I recommend, is for the candle or the pullback to come down and merge with the signal line, and that's when you hit them on the long side. In this case, it's a buy setup. And so we're, like I said, we're just trading at one-time speed now, the slowest speed. This is the exact way the market was trading on this day at this time. Very slow right now. It's still trading a little slow. But we do have the matching dynamic trend bands, so according to the rule, a pullback the sig line is a buy. There's no fudging on the rule. There's no like, oh, wait and see what else it does. That's okay to do that if you want, but that's not the rules. And if you miss a trade, that wasn't Boomerang's fault. That was your fault because you decided to wait or hesitate or whatever. And that may be from some old bad habits. But once you get used to using Boomerang, and it starts with watching this tape today, that'll help you gain more confidence and you'll look forward to your career as a Boomerang trader. So we're still waiting here to see if we get a trade set up. What I'm going to do though is let me go ahead and speed it up and then I'll just narrate along the way as things set up, okay? Because like I said, otherwise it could get very boring sitting here. But I did want you to see it. So I've got it on 2 times, and let's roll up to 4 times here and see what happens. Okay, so you saw this pull back to the sig line here at 07. So you go long there, and we're looking for 10 ticks. So we're looking for a move to 45.17 and 45.7 long with a 13 tick stop, and a move to 17 will give us a $100 bill, give us 10 ticks. You with me on that? So we're long at 7, and we'll watch, see if this market can jump up to 17 for us. And there it goes. Did you see that? Jumped right through there. Now let me stop it for a second. Matching dynamic trend bands, pull back to the sig line, which is marked at 07. I sped it up, so it was going pretty fast. It'd be about 1/4 that speed you saw. And 07 on this candle at the peak jumped to 21. So when you get long here, you say 10 ticks, 45.07 plus 10 ticks is 45.17. My target is therefore 45.17. Whether if you got in a little bit late for whatever reason, shame on you. I mean, just practice more and work with us here, work with Boomerang and follow the tape, but you'll get it. Do my method I told you and look for the price marker to merge with the trade signal line marker, and then just go up here and hit buy at the market, and you'll get in. You'll get in normally right on the dot. It's slow. Usually they're moving slow enough, and sometimes you might get a little slippage. But if you do, and let's say you got long here, a lot of this narration, I'm going to speed this up very quick, but I just want to explain. Had you got long here at 45.07, or you had good intentions of it, they went 45.07 and you hit them, and you got 45.09, what you want to do is take 07 and add 10 ticks, and that's your goal for the trade. Now, I'll show you the brackets even though the trade is gone. Say you got long. Hold on a second here. Forgot to set the brackets. I'm going to close that out. Okay. And I'm going to stop this for a second. Oh, look at that. They're just screaming higher. I'm going to set the brackets here. Not to 10 ticks because we don't know exactly. So we'd like to set this for plus 20 ticks and minus. I've got a in my. You can build a little library of ticks here. I've got a minus 12 plus 20. So we'll use the minus 12 just as a demonstration. I'm not even going to put those on during this course that I'm teaching you here today. I'm just going to show you how to use the brackets. Now, So let's fire this up again. Now, this is not a trade set, just a demonstration. So if I was going to get long at 28, or, well, they're just leaping to the moon here, aren't they? If I was going to get long, like at 30 here, and I go long, now notice there's a bracket here. There's an entry at 20, at 30. There's a 20 tick stop. Not sure why that was. Oh, okay, my mistake. Well, let's just for now, let's put it at 20. Anyway, what you do then is you take your entry at 30 minus 13 is 17. I'm just showing you. This is not a real trade, not even close. This is where you're stop. You just drag and click so easy on NinjaTrader. Because you own Boomerang, you're going to need NinjaTrader, or you can use eSignal, which also has the same feature, drag and clicking the bracket up there. And then you're going to have a 10 tick exit. So 30, and this you'll drag this down to 40. You see what I mean? Just giving you an example if this was a correct trade, which it's not. See? And then you just let the trade work for you. And that's what's great about Boomerang, because the stop rarely gets hit. So all you got to do is put the trade on, and what you got to do is manage that 8 to 10 ticks. You got to look at your entry here, and you got to see where 17 is. And if you got in, instead of at 7, you got in at 9, then you just drag and click this down to the 17, because that's still going to be your exit point. You see? Let me close this out now. I just wanted to demonstrate the brackets to you. It wasn't a trade or anything, and so just don't even worry about that. So as we're moving along now, we have one winning trade. And we're just watching for the next trade setup. Now again, it could be a while before we see another trade. We don't know. So I'm going to speed this up so you can watch Boomerang. I got it 10 times speed, so they're going to fly all over the place now. But I got my finger on the pause button if we have to take a pause and see where the next trade setup might come in. So nothing to do here. And sometimes you're going to get out with 10 ticks and the thing's going to soar. Like remember here we're long at 6, 7 with the idea of getting out at 17, which is right here. And now they're way up here at 39. It has nothing to do with it. In fact, I recommend to you, I have a sign on my desk because I'm a scalper too. I'm an intraday scalper. Just that's the system here for Boomerang. And it says, so what? ... Who cares? ... No big deal. And that's the mindset you want to have. I'm going to eventually soon here have a whole hour course on traders' mindset, which is the psychology of day trading, which is very important. A lot of traders are in denial about that until they start losing a lot of money and they go crazy. Then they realize they need some help. They need to understand the proper trading mindset. And without that, it's like anything. Don't you think when you become a policeman in the downtown Detroit department, they give you that kind of training? Don't you think they give you that kind of training in the other departments of industry, medical, and so many things? Of course they do. So trading, it's more important, I would say, than anything. Anyway, just something important to keep in mind. Now again, because I have a lot of trades that I want to demonstrate to you, I don't want to spend 3 hours on this video. It's not going to benefit you. So I'm going to speed up and fast forward the tape to certain areas and then just come in when a trade setup is occurring. I hope that's okay with you, but otherwise we have to sit here for what, half hour, 45? We don't know when the next Boomerang trade will set up. Keep that in mind. So I just wanted you to know that, and we will be going over the next trade setup as it occurs. Now, right here, you can see we're right on the verge of a crossover. We don't have a flat dynamic trend band number 2. See if I put the cursor up there, it's not flat. You see the cursor running out on the right side? It's got to be flat. Now we have a crossover, but we need a flat dynamic trend band, and it is not officially flat. See that? Even if I move it closer, it's not flat until it's flat across the line there. So there's no trade so far, but they are crossing over, and it is flat-ish. So, again, you become good at following the rules. That's going to help you a lot. See, though, it's still curving up because we just had a big move up in crude. So we're going to pass on any trade here for now. There's no trade just yet. Just watching which way the wind blows here. And that's the easiest, hardest part of our job. We just sit there and watch and wait and try not to let the market manipulate us into thinking that we have to trade. You see, I have a slogan that I say every day when I trade to myself and the traders that follow me. I say, we use the markets to carve out a paycheck for ourselves. We don't let the markets use us to drive us nuts. See what I mean? I hope that makes sense. Well, okay, so we got officially now a boomerang trade right here at 45.40. You see that? 45.40 right there. So we're looking for a trade to 45.50. And there's 49, there's 50. You see that? And there's 52. Okay, another quick review, and then a little review here, and then I'll let it run some more. I have this pause now. We had a buy. All you're watching for initially, it'll keep you really sharp, is the rules. Now I'm going to explain 2 of these rules to you. The first one I just did, which was you've got to have, if you have a crossover, you've got to have a flat dynamic trend band number 2. And when I put the cursor up here, right as they're crossing over, you can see that it's not flat. Flat is flat. If I put it up here on this dynamic trend band number 1, that's a flat trend band. If I put it right here, you can see by looking off to the right, there's still space in between it. Mini little thin slice of pizza there, as I call it. It's not flat. However, what happened is it flipped to a buy signal on Boomerang. There was actually a pullback simultaneously with the buy channel arrow, and that's going to happen once in a while. That's no big deal. You're not going to catch those. You don't expect to catch them, and it's not part of the system. The system is the arrow signals the opening of the trade channel. The candle has to close still on that side with the arrow on. Sometimes the arrow will blink on and off, and it'll go away before the candle's finished. It has to close with the arrow locking it down there. In most cases, you want it to be green, obviously, if you're going to buy. You have the dynamic trend bands matching on the second candle here. And you had a pullback to the signal line at 45.40. Because the minute this candle locked on, you've got your eyes over on the right side of the chart, right up here, with your buy and sell buttons, in this case buy, and you're watching for this trade price marker box here to come down and merge into the signal line. See the signal line running here? You can see the green box. You're watching for that to come down, and you already know where the signal line is, but you're just watching for that price to come down and merge in that box in the signal line, which was right at 45.40. You hit your buy button and you tolerate whatever slippage there is, but if you do it correctly and you become very efficient at working with Boomerang, just like a surgeon becomes efficient at working with his tools. His or her tools are used and trained and retrained and apprenticed after 8 years in med school. Then they go off and they do their first couple operations alone, which I'm sure is a very nervous thing to do, but they're trained, they know what to do, and they're confident. Similarly, it's exactly the same. We have a lot of surgeon clients that own Boomerang, ones that I've met in person and shook hands with at live seminars over the last 16 years I've been in the business. You train and you learn Boomerang and you get better and better every day on your entries. I mean, on this particular day, there was 8, 9 trades. Don't you think you're going to get pretty good at making the entries? On the 8th, which I'm going to show you, 28th, 9/28, 2016, which I'm going to show you pretty soon, there was 14 trades, which were all winners. Don't you think you're going to get pretty good at entering these trades? Because it's the same old routine. The trade signal line opens and closes the arrow. You're now in a new buy channel. You see that the dynamic trend bands match color in this case or have crossed over. Now, they're crossed over on the downside, but that doesn't matter. Either they're crossed over on the upside if the dynamic trend band number 2 is still the bearish color, or in the case where they match, you buy that pull back the sig line with them matching. Now, when they pulled back the sig line here at 40, the market ran up to 52 on this high of this candle. 40 plus 10 is 50. So your exit would have been a limit order at 45.50. So whether if you're a little slow or you had some slippage, you got it at 40, or you got in you got in 40 or you got 42, whatever, your exit is still 50. Don't worry. You're going to have plenty of trades, and most of them are going to hit 8 to 10 ticks, and that's an $80 and $100 bill in your pocket every time that happens. Okay? So, with that in mind, let's move on and get the thing running again here. That's our second winning trade in a row. If you're trading 2 contracts, you're up $400. Not bad. If you're trading 4 contracts, you're up $800. Although, I should say you're up you're up 40 ticks. You're up 40 ticks, and each tick's worth $10 there. Just so you know, I'm just trying to steer away from trying to sound like I'm dangling an $800 bill in front of you like a sales thing, you know. These are hypothetical trades, and I just want you to understand that. Okay, so let's watch Boomerang trade, and I'll just narrate as we go along. We're going to speed things up here a little because I don't want this tape to last too long, but I do want you to understand how it works. We're in a sell setup now. Why? Dynamic trend band is below the flat and now turning magenta signal dynamic trend band number 2, and we're watching. We've got a trade channel arrow that's closed. We're watching for a pullback to the signal line right here at 45.33. You see that? Here's the price marker. The trade signal line, you can see it right here at 32. It's right, it moved down to 32, and we got a sell order at 32. You see? And if you were a little slow, you could have got a higher price there. So we're watching 32 now to run down to 22 and hold a 13 tick stop. You see what I mean? So if you 32 running down to 22 is the goal, and what was it? 32 plus 13 is 45. Stop. You just drag and click these. It takes a second. It's very easy to do. So now dynamic trend bands are still matching, and we're just letting the trade work. And again, we're short from 32. This marker here happens to show 31. So we're just watching for the market, but 32 was the actual entry. See one tick above here? So we're just watching for the prices to come down. They're getting a little flippy here. They're going to, okay, and we got stopped out in that trade. That trade got stopped out on this whipsaw candle here. And don't worry about this meter because that first one we were measuring that, and it's It has nothing to do with what we're doing, it's just to measure that. But look here. So that was good, actually. I gave you an example of a trade. For some reason, everything was set up to go, and 95% of these are going to be winners. But for some reason, somebody spoofed the crude oil market there and drove the candle up and stopped out that trade. No big deal. So what? Who cares? No big deal. I know that I'm going to get 95% winning trades in most cases, at least 9 out of 90, 9 out of 10. So what if it gets stopped out? So now I'm keeping it on high speed here. I'm watching. Now, by the way, when that arrow printed on that candle going up, I'm just telling you this. There will come a day very soon after you own Boomerang and follow the exact rules that you'll become real expert at it and you'll know how to maybe cut corners a little. In other words, with a new arrow forming like that in the market, you could maybe have shaved off a few ticks on the stop. Doesn't matter though. We now have, look, we now have dynamic trend bands starting to match with a new buy channel here. So we got to just wait and see that they can match color before um, we look for another possible long trade there. You see how that works? So far, they're just kind of still waiting for that. And it may be a long time because we don't know. But right now, we're in the midst of what we would look for is if both dynamic trend bands were matching on a closed candle, we had a blue dot, we could go ahead and buy them. But right now, we're just kind of waiting, and it may be a while before anything pans out. Now we do have matching number 2. If number 1, we got a new sell channel, notice that. If all of a sudden we get a matching dynamic trend band, number 1, and again, this candle here closes. Now notice, by the way, also the tick counter here. See that? Now once they close, 9, and then it's a new candle. So we now have an arrow closing down. You with me here? And we're watching now for a sell channel, and we're watching for a pullback to the signal line for an entry. The signal line's up there at 37 or 36, just adjusted down. So we got 37 as the entry, right? And 37, we're looking for 37 to move down to 27 down here for 10 ticks. Now we're getting a little whipsaw here. The dynamic trend band number 1 is changing back to the color, and we're getting a flipping arrow on the sell side here. So it's kind of a little flippy floppy game going on. It's called whipsaw, and it's kind of the scourge of the futures markets or any market, but especially if you're day trading. So what we're going to do is just close this out early here, closing this trade out early because we've got a new buy channel, green candles, and the doggone thing's just whipsawing. So 37, yeah, we just closed it out for a small loss of around 4 or 5 ticks. Not a big deal. Now we have matching dynamic trend bands, a new buy channel. So once again, you never have to worry about a loss or anything. There's always another boomerang trade around the corner. Okay, so we're now watching again for a pullback to the sig line around 42, currently 43. And watching right now, there it is at 45. So we're long on crude here, right there at 45. And this is running at ultra high speed. It's running 4 times, so it's not this hyper. But I just don't want to sit here for 5 hours to make this tape. Okay, so same deal, 45. 45 plus 10 is 55. You with me? Target is 55. And I happen to get the entry at 47, but I wasn't watching for the entry. I was just showing you the demonstration. So 45 plus 10 is 55. So I clicked and dragged. It took 10 seconds to drag the marker down there, And 45 minus 13 is 32. So this stop would be at 32. And then you just let the trade work its direction. Dynamic trend bands are matching. We got a buy channel, and hopefully they can roll up from 45 to 55 and give us 10 points or 10 ticks. And there it is, filled on the target there, shooting higher, actually shooting all the way up to 66 on that move. You gotta love that, but we're just won our 10 ticks. So there was another trade, and I actually got to demonstrate putting it on here, which was great. I got to show you exactly how, if you get a little slippage on the fill, what you can do. Now they're just going nuts. Look at that, up 93. Hey, doesn't matter. The method is 45 to 55. This is all just a big whatever. I mean, look, after you get used to using Boomerang, you're going to be able to, coming to our trainings and everything, I'm going to show you ways to catch the bigger moves. There's ways you can trail stops and all kinds of stuff. In fact, what we often do is we'll just trail a stop up in the middle of this channel here above the Cobra and up through the center. You can do stuff like that. It's not a problem. But again, this is working at ultra high speed here, so just keep that in mind. You can trail, I mean, you can actually set up trailing stops on NinjaTrader, real fancy trailing stop. You can trail it by 5 ticks and 8 ticks. You can take one off here. I wouldn't get into such a complicated thing with it, but you can put an automatic trailing stop in these positions. But for right now, I'm just advising you to go in there, make the trades, and be successful. See what I'm saying? Go in and make the 10 ticks. Get real good at that first. Just get, if you're a net losing trader, you've been trading for a couple of years, you got to get over that disappointment and that negativity about trading. Just get used to trading again with a winning system that works. You're seeing it demonstrated live here. Get real used to that. We had one trade that was a winner. We had one that got stopped out. We had that one that we got out just a little bit early because the arrow came in, opposite arrow came in. So I just closed it out a little earlier. Immediately after that, we had that last one, that winner. And now we're watching for another trade. There's always another trade around the corner that's going to be a winning Boomerang trade. 90-95% of them are going to be winners for you. So we're watching again. Now, by the way, this orange line here, this is a Boomerang automatic support resistance line. It's what I like to call a line in the sand. It's like a battle that's going on in the markets, and the markets Boomerang's drawing a line in the sand. Hey, step over this, buddy, and we'll see what happens to you, right? So it'll be orange when the price are generally above it. It'll hold bullish, and as they dip below it, it'll gradually turn white. But it's just an extra feature, Boomerang. It helps you get a little perspective on the market. Obviously, if this was a short trade, if this was lower and crossed over, they're matching colors, you'd want to see the prices holding under the orange line, obviously, because you're short. It would be a white line, and you'd want to see them holding under that till you got your 10 ticks, right? So that just gives you an idea. So again, we're working at high speed, and we're going through all this to give you as much information as you can on Boomerang Day Trader and see it working live on the crude oil, which is just magnificent contract to trade Boomerang with. Now again, I don't know where the next trade's going to be, but it's good for you to see this. This is the real live day-to-day working environment you're going to be in. Again, trading at high speed, 4 times what the market's moving at, but we're just watching to see. Now, a little quiz for you. What has to happen for a trade setup to occur? Well, that's right. First of all, you need a locked down buy or sell channel. And once that occurs, and of course you're going to be looking at that in advance, you want to see the condition of the dynamic trend bands. Now, right now, you have a bearish colored dynamic trend band number 1 and an upsloping, slightly upsloping, if I put the cursor there, dynamic trend band number 2. So nothing to do here. Now they are close to a crossover, and again, you got to get that cursor up there. And so far, they're looking pretty close to flat. But what we need is a sell channel for a sell trade if they cross over on the downside, and we make sure that this turns flat on the dynamic trend band number 2, then we'll have a genuine setup there. But right now they're just kind of flipping around. We do have an official crossover now. You can see that. And you can put arrows on this if you want. Boomerang has that feature, and you can alarm the crossover, but it's not, super vital. But if you want to do that, it's fine. I'm assuming that you're sitting on the edge of your chair when you're watching all this, so you're not going to miss it. You don't want to be out walking the dog and have your cell phone give you a signal, oh, the dynamic trend bands are crossing, or I better rush back up there. No, don't trade that way. You got to sit. It's like a surgeon. Oh, his cell phone rings. He's just getting ready to slice your heart open to do that operation, and his cell phone rings. Oh, hi, honey. Yeah, I'm right in the middle of operation. I'll get back to you a little later. Okay. By the way, how's the kids? Oh, good. Okay. Talk to you later. Come on, that's not going to happen, right? You have to take it that serious. We're surgeons. We're coming in here trying to dissect these markets and make precision, accurate trades with extreme precision to put cash in our pocket. Nobody in the markets, we're all out here trying to make money. We're taking risk and making money. Nobody's going to get anything free. Nobody's going to give you anything free. You got to work for it. Now look at that dynamic trend number 1's blinking on and off, but we don't have a buy signal just yet. But still a little bit questionable. So you can see when they're blinking like that, you got to be a little bit careful because it's on the verge of doing something. Now maybe they're going to cross over to the downside here. I'd like to think we're going to get a setup pretty soon, but you have to wait for everything. You just have to wait for the right setup. And if you miss something, there's always a trade around the corner, or you can always just get back in it. Now, again, I put my cursor up here. That dynamic trend band number 1 is not exact, or 2 is not quite flat yet. Even if I move it right up here, it's very close, but we do have the potential here. If we get a sell signal, it looks to me like we could get a short trade, but I can't jump the gun. We have to wait. There's very exact specific rules to prevent you from going nuts and getting whipsawed out of the market and having a problem. Now there you go. Did you see that last move on the DTB number 2? It's now flat, and we have a new sell channel here with a flat DTB. So the rule is that as long as this candle, we got 106 ticks before the candle closes. See that? So we're watching the tick meter here, and let's see if that candle closes on the sell. It did. So there's your first signal right there at 86. You see that? So we're watching now 86, or it's 85, 86 to go to 76 right down here. 86 to dive down to 76 for 10 ticks. We got the right configuration. It's flat enough DTB number 2. Hopefully they will start pulling back a little more, and 86 is going to take a dive lower. Now maybe there's going to be some little problem. We've always got our finger on the trigger to protect ourselves if so. You can see that darn buy arrow blinking on and off there, so we got to watch that. Maybe they're going to try to shoot them higher, but no guts, no glory. Let's see if they can back them off a little bit here. Well, now we got a buy arrow locking down, so normally what you'd want to do there is to just go ahead and exit the trade. See what I mean? Just close it out, and on that case we lost 2 ticks on that. See that? That buy arrow came in, and you close it out for a micro loss, just 2 ticks. The entry was 86, and we closed them out right at about 88. Now we have matching dynamic trend bands here. See that on the upside. Let's watch. A lot of times when this happens, when they reverse like this, we got a locked in buy channel. Kind of weird with some yellow dots on it, but that's just because the algorithm got confused by the flipping here. But we may get a buy signal anytime now. We are in a buy channel. Let's watch for a pullback to the signal line. And there it is. Oh, actually, what happens is Boomerang will, if it, after the arrow forms, after 6 candles from the arrow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it will not tap the signal line. Now, one of the rules, if that does not form, then you can buy a pullback here to the Cobra. So right around this level here. Oh, actually, you know what happens here? I haven't discussed these that much, and I wish I would have done it before this, but this is called a fat channel here. What happens is when the market shoots higher with spike candles, it forms, you see this rim of this trade, it's like a fat channel. Especially if you turn your head to the left, you can see a big belly there. So no trade on this deal here. There's no trade here. The formed a fat channel, so there's no trade on that. And again, all this is moving slower, but when you see the candles shoot up like this, there's no trade set up. Now, technically, even though this arrow for some reason printed yellow, it could be because I'm using replay instead of live. Hard to say. But normally, your buy entry, you can see that the candle formed, locked down in the buy channel, and the pullback, the signal line came here at 87, and they shot straight up. For some reason, and that can happen once in a while. Welcome to the wonderful world of the internet and market technology. But it did actually give us a buy signal on the signal line there at 86 and shot up. But not up here. There would have been no trade up here. There was no print on the signal line because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles. 1, 2, 3 from the candle as it closed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If there had been one less candle, this would have printed on the signal line, but it would have been a fat channel, and we don't want to trade against. We don't want to trade at the top of a fat channel because most of those are going to fade at some level. So again, I'm just filming this live, so I honestly don't know why this printed yellow here. It's just because the thing flipped real quick and we got out with a small loss, 2 ticks. But you can see here that it flipped and then pulled back. Somehow the algorithm, because I'm running it at high speed, I'm guessing it confused the algorithm. If this was on a still chart, odds favor this would be printed blue. But because I'm running it on the hyper speed, it's repainting these in the memory as it goes. So that's what I'm guessing happened. Doesn't really matter. Again, look up at your sign. So what? Who cares? No big deal. Anyway, so we're now watching for the next possible trade setup to occur. I wish when I was trading every day I could turn the market on faster. It's like a cartoon. You picture you had a button you could push, and you're watching CNBC or something, and there's the guys on the floor. All of a sudden they start going, blah, 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 blah. They start moving real fast because you're trying to speed up the boomerang chart to a point where there's a trade setup, so you wouldn't have to sit here all day. But that wouldn't be trading then. You'd just be it'd be nice, but it's not going to happen. However, we can do that on the simulator like we're doing today, so that's cool. And again, what do we got here? Gosh, we're only about an hour, let's see, close to 2, 6, 7. about 2 hours into the trading so far with what I'm showing you here, and you can see how it just takes up so much time. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to just speed it up. It's going to go hyper faster just for the sake of making this all work as far as making this recorded video. And if we get up to a setup, I'll try to stop it in time so you can see, but you'll actually see it print live and set up right. And remember, I'm trading this now currently at 10 times speed. So it's not an accurate representation of the speed or anything. When you're trading, it's so easy to get into the setups because the market, although it's moving fast, it's moving very slow compared to what you're seeing here on the screen. But otherwise, how do I demonstrate this to our many respected traders that have asked me for something similar to this, you see? Kind of hate to go beyond 10 times speed because then it just becomes unreal, but I'll do a few more demonstrations of the live trades, and then I'll move over to the 28th or 9/28, and we can take a look at that too. Now we're getting a crossover. Notice a crossover coming in here, so that's a little bit of an alert there. Doesn't mean the market wants to necessarily sell off. It might want to make a second level, third level move up. And you don't need to speculate about, hey, they're getting exhausted up here, because it isn't the way Boomerang works. You don't have to do that anymore. Okay, are they flat? Yes, the DTB number 2 is flat. You see that? So we're watching for a sell signal here. There it is. Sell signal there at 46.01. So we're looking for a move down to 45.91. And you can see right here they came down to 92, and there's that 8 to 10 tick rule. And this would have been going really much, 1/10 of this speed. So when they dove down to 92, you could have closed them out. They may take another dive down there, but you got to follow the rules. If they hit that number, there it is. There's 91 blowing right through it. So you did actually have a second stab from the entry at 01 down to 92 for 8 to 10 ticks. If you waited, you had to watch them move against you a little bit, not by much, but then they took another dive down. But they could have shot up and stopped you out. Then it would have been, you have to understand, the rule is 8 to 10 ticks. You got to go in there, and when they don't go dive down to that level, you got to scalp them out somewhere in there. Just pick them off, and it's just another day at work, and you're just picking off the trades. So let's see if we'll watch this a little bit more. I mean, really, a chart is a chart is a chart. I have people say, oh, I want to trade gold on Boomerang. I said, well, gold's a little more erratic. I don't necessarily recommend it, although traders are doing very well trading it. And they're all hung up on like trading gold. And I say, I've given you mini NAS and crude oil. I mean, crude oil especially is so smooth. The stock market's a little more erratic because the whole world's watching that, and there's so many opinions about it. It's manipulated politically, which was mentioned in the presidential debate last night and everything, which is good to expose these Fed riggers, you know. But I'm just saying the crude oil is a little smoother, but mini NAS is beautiful for trading these U.S. stock indexes. But my point is, and I'm nice to him, I say, yeah, go ahead and give gold a try, but I've already looked at it. It's a lot more erratic. Why wouldn't you just want to trade crude oil? A chart is a chart is a chart. Who cares? If you got a chart that's working and it's smooth like this last short trade here, and you get a lot of trades, and I do these audits on our Boomerang blog where I show traders, I actually do audits of the trade setups that occur. Why would you want to trade something else that's a little less proven, let's say? You know what I'm saying? It's up to you, but a chart is a chart, a chart. Who cares if it's gold or crude oil or, you know, Norwegian egg futures or whatever. I don't know if there's such a thing, but you get the point. Who cares? If it trades really smooth, then you're in business. Wanted to show you this. This is our default place to go for all things Boomerang. BoomerangTrader.com. Many of you already know this, but I just want to show you this. In this resource section, we have all these valuable videos on Boomerang and how to use Boomerang. This one in particular, successful crude oil trading with Boomerang, I want to show you. I went through and did an audit of 2 weeks with the exact setups that occurred. Now look, here's another trade setup coming in here, and here. But just remember, you can watch these audits that I do here, and you can see Boomerang in action when I go through meticulously. This is a great way to really learn these setups and get real accustomed to them. Plus, of course, watching this video now, which will be added on to the resource section very soon. So now this is currently short at 93, and there's 83 right there coming in live. You see that? This is where they simultaneously hit the algorithm, the algo that marked the candle opening and the new sell channel simultaneously a millisecond with the sell channel after, so it printed the pullback signal line. So you wouldn't have got that one in most cases. But right here, 93, 93 jumped to 96, few ticks against you, and then kablamo down to 80. There's your 10 ticks. And that's why, at least initially, I recommend don't get too cute trying to catch the big move, but scalp out those $100 bills and just wait for the next trade. You see what I mean? You're going to be a lot happier if you do that. After you get real good at doing that, you can try a couple things as you get real good at researching with Boomerang. And indeed, what I'm doing right here in the simulator, you can go in at night after hours and you can develop a method for trading for the big move. And that the way you do that is you use the dynamic trend band lines as stops along with the Bollinger Bands. And you can use the Cobra here too. Notice how they came right up to the Cobra and failed. So you can use, like, for a first level trade, a lot of times you can use an entry and then a Cobra plus 2 or 3 ticks. We've successfully done that. We have traders doing that. But don't worry about that for now. I just want you to get your whole neurological system reconditioned to making successful winning trades. That's all that matters right now, is get real used to making successful winning trades. Okay, we got a crossover coming in here. You with me here? We don't have a flat. We actually have a flat dynamic trend band number 2, now matching colors. So a pullback signal line is going to qualify for a buy trade. Now look at, here's the signal line here. Here's the price. So watch for these two to merge, and that's where you hit them right there. Boom, you're long. And notice that the minute it did that, it printed on the signal line. So you're long at 95. So with the brackets on there, you're going to automatically, you're long at 95. You're going to put the exit at 46.05. You see? So 46.05 is your 10 tick exit, and 05 minus 13 ticks is your stop down. Now notice they just mega leaped up to 05. That's the power of the dynamic trend bands. When they're matching up and you have the right configuration according to what I teach you, they go your way. And you get good at this. This is maybe the first time you've seen Boomerang Crude Oil live in action. I promise you, I'm here for this purpose. Been here 16 years in the industry with a golden reputation. You are going to get really good at this. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that you get this crude oil trading just right, so you can come in and do exactly what I'm doing here today and make money. It's my promise to you. Most of the time, just watching like this video here today and watching our tutorials, our bi-weekly tutorials. You can see those here on the blog. You just go in the blog section. Look at this. We did one a couple days ago, 921. There it is. There's the recording. I recorded it, so you can always listen back to it. A lot of it is inspirational. A lot of it is I go over methods. We always go over the charts and see what happened. But look at, here's all the trainings. They're all on recordings there. Here's a profit report on July 24th on crude oil. Getting on the right side of the Boomerang market force indicators, which we don't really use them, to be honest with you. We don't use them much anymore. The original Boomerang focused a lot on these bias indicators down here. You don't need them anymore. You notice how simple the method is I'm showing you? You don't really need to. It's the simplest system to use in the world that I've seen. I developed it. I know. For 16 years I've been researching everything that comes out. But what I'm saying is that um, you don't need to use these bias indicators. But when a right trade sets up, you're going to see everything matching on the same side of the zero line, or in the case, green colors. But you don't really need to complicate it that much. The dynamic trend bands will take care of it. The way I'm showing you how to trade the DTBs, that'll take care of it for you. All right, so we're just watching for the next trade setup, and isn't this fun? This is similar to what you'll be doing every day when you own Boomerang and you go and trade the crude oil, except I've got this running really fast because I want to make sure you see a lot of examples of these trades setting up. You can see it here, you can see it here. You can see why. You now know why this is not a buy trade. You know exactly why. There's no confusion. You know exactly why this is a sell trade. Do you see that? Look at that. 1, 2, 3 winners that I just showed you live right before your eyes. And there's actually, I'm sure, a couple more before we close here. Yeah, I'm showing 2 more. So we'll go through those, and then I'll pause the tape. I'll switch over the 28th, and we'll get things rocking and rolling on September 28th, where there, like I said, there's 14 winners, no losses. Now there might have been a couple where they're blinking on and off, and prudent management would have had you clip the trade like I did on that one for a 2-tick loss. And you'll learn all that. We teach it in the class, but it's just common sense, really. I mean, you want that trade to work in your favor, and if you get an opposite trade channel that closes down against you, hello, we got a problem, Even though it might flip back the other way, still we got a problem, We don't want to take that. Not if it doesn't close and the arrow is flashing, then sometimes you can wait and it'll work out. But anyway, let's see what we got here. Let's see if we can get things cooking. Watching to see if we get another trade set up. Maybe a minute or two here. Well, there's a lockdown trade channel, right? But look at the configuration. They're very widespread. There's no setup there. You can't make it up, and you don't need to. I'm showing you and proving that to you right here. Just follow the method that I developed. This took me many, many years, 5 years to develop Boomerang. You wouldn't believe it. I tested all different time frames and all kinds of stuff. 450 ticks is nice because it gives me a good way to measure whipsaw. It's kind of a hybrid of a slightly higher time frame combined with a lower time frame. And, don't think immediately you want to go in and change my system and try to make it a tighter 1-minute chart or this or that. You're not going to win. That's not going to help you. Follow the proven method and you'll be a lot happier of a camper. Okay, lockdown buy channel matching dynamic trend bands. Let's see if we get a pullback to the sig line going here, and if we do, it's gonna be a buy signal. Right now, currently, you can see the marker for the trade signal line is right here. There it is, buy signal right there, 46.05. Okay, 46.05 long. You see the signal coming in. Everything's set up, ready to move. 46.05. So we're going to look for a move to 46.15. right up here. 15 is going to be the exit. Long at 46.05. And you add 10 ticks to that, and it's 15. I think they just hit that. Yeah, there's 15. Just hit 15 there. So another winning trade there. Did you see that? Pretty cool, huh? Buy channel, dynamic trend band. They tried to push lower, but crude oil wanted to go higher. We don't care. We're not trying to push the market around. We're let Boomerang tell us what to do. We don't have to figure all this stuff out anymore. That's over. The days of taking a course, you taking these courses, I've taken them. You know, some of them are, they gouge you for like $5,000 and it takes 2 weeks and you sit through all these boring classes and they explain all these different indicators and stuff. Then, okay, good luck. Have a good time trading. You got to go out and figure it out. Well, where's that entry again? Let me look up chapter 7 now. Let's see, where did it say? Oh, yeah. You can't do that while you're live in the markets. Boomerang does all the work for you. Here's a buy channel. Here's a matching dynamic trend bands. Here's a pullback the sig line at 46.06 or 5. Maybe it was 6. Maybe you caught this one at 7. 7 ran up to 18. That's 10 ticks. I've already measured all this stuff out and figured this out for you. So you can just start making money and feeling good. Now, how good would you feel if you just were on your 7th winning trade in a row today with a couple of those little stop outs? But, you know, you're up $700 minus some commission, right? 657. You're feeling pretty good, is what I'm saying. You're feeling like, wow, this really works for me. I could make a lifestyle out of this. You see what I'm saying? You could just make a career out of crude oil. It's like this every day. I go over it every day and I watch it and I trade and I'm going, this is an amazing contract, and with Boomerang, it's absolutely astonishing. So, again, go over our audit reports. This will help you really lock down the method and what a fat channel is and where a trade wouldn't have been appropriate, like you know, watch this. Oops, that was the wrong one. But just go to boomerangtrader.com and go to the resource section. Every one of these reports is really valuable, but just scroll down to the successful crude oil trading with Boomerang Day Trader. This was a 2-week period where they showed 97% winning trades. Never, ever in the history of the markets has there been such a software, and we guarantee it. We guarantee 90% winning trades. No one's ever done that. If you're going to buy a course or another trading program, whatever, ask the guy selling it to you, well, do you guarantee 90% winning trades? And he's going to go, what? What are you, nuts? Nobody does that. Well, then you'll know who to call. And especially now that you're seeing it working live in front of your very eyes, you'll say, I'm going to get Boomerang Day Trader. All right, let's do one more trade because 11:30 on this California time, West Coast time, is 11:30 to 11:45 is around the closing time. I think there's one more trade in here, and we're going to see if we can nail that too. So I want you to see this stuff live, so you see that it's exactly when I show it and demonstrate on the still charts in these webinars that I do. It's the exact same thing live. You just have to know the setups. The rules are not changeable. You can't fudge the rules to make something up to make a webinar look. I know a lot of these guys out there do that, and I'm sorry. I'm apologizing for the industry. There are some real jackass frauds out there. Trust me, I know. I'm aware of it. Okay. Crossover matching dynamic trend bands, right? A little bit, yeah, it's flat up there. Should be able to get a pullback going here. Let's see what happens. The DTB here is a little bit, it's flat. It should qualify as a trade. It might get stopped out, which would be no big deal. But overall, this should be short at 46.06, and the goal would be 46. would be 45.96. It's pretty choppy here right now, but dynamic trend bands are matching and everything, so we're just kind of watching the 4606 level to see if they're going to try to stop it out or if they're going to take it back down, break it down under 46. Up. All right, they stopped it out. Now, one could have argued on this that the problem with this was the whipsaw, and that's going to happen once in a while. So that one would have got stopped out. Hey, welcome to the wonderful world of trading. Look at the crazy whipsaw that's occurring in here. Arguably, one could have said, well, there's a lot of whipsaw candles around a flat dynamic trend band here. So that's where you got to be careful. If they're sort of smoothly holding in one direction, but when they start whipsawing it, but got to be a little careful. So couldn't really get that going. So we got continuation whipsaw here, but let's now be ready to possibly watch for a long-sided trade. Let's see what happens here. They're still whipsawing. Let's see if we can get a solid double dynamic trend bands matching color. And right up in here, we would have had a short trade here at 4,600, and down they go. Your first trade would have been right here, 46 even. They whipsawed them up to 46.05. It was fast because I got on 10 times speed. This is coming in the close. So 40, that's why all this whipsaw is. They're coming into the close. They start getting a little hyper. Matching DTBs, a nice slope to the downside. See, that heavy slope's really creating a bias. They pulled them up to 4,600 and then blasted them down lower. Now, I could replay this in the slower speed and you'd see it would have been quite easy to enter that. 13 tick stop is held, and they just blasted 46 down to, you'd be looking for 46 even to go down to 45.90. So they whipsawed a little, then they went 90 right down here, just nailed them. So, with that in mind, that concludes the webinar. That concludes this portion. That doesn't conclude the webinar, concludes the 926. I'm now going to switch over to 928 and we'll continue with some trades there where there was about 14 winners on that session. Give me a quick second here. Okay, I'm back here. And by the way, if you're wondering what happened to the 27th, what I thought I'd do, I started thinking about it. You're skipping over the 28th, that's fine, but let me just go over on the still charts, the winning trade setups on the 27th, which is shown right here on the screen now. This is the 27th, and I'll show you the exact boomerang setups that occurred on the still chart, and you know that they're very accurate because it's almost the exact same thing as the live trades that I've already proven and shown you here. Okay, let's get started. 545, again, that's where we start. Here's a crossover. Right at the exact crossover, there's a pullback to the sig line here at 76. 76 jumps up to 86. You see that? 10 ticks. Here's matching dynamic trend bands. Here's sell channel. Matching dynamic trend bands right here. Pull back the sig line at 70. 70 drops down to 59. 10 ticks. They start flying back up here, forming a buy channel. It locks down. Dynamic trend bands are back to matching colors on the same side of the crossover. A pullback the sig line. 77 leaps up to 90. Leaps up to 89. So 3 little winning trades in the midst of all this heavy whipsaw in a row. 3 winning trades, and then we watch again. Then we get a period where they're not. Okay, here. Sell channel. Matching dynamic trend bands, pull back the sig line right here. 73 drops them right down to 63 for 8 to 10 ticks. So 4 winning trades in a row in the midst of this heavy whipsaw kind of moves. And then we see a big mega leap to the sky here, forming a huge fat channel. So no trade up at the top of the fat channel. We see them collapse over here, sell channel. Matching dynamic trend bands right there or right there. Pullback sig line, 10 ticks. So I think that's what, is that what, 6 winning trades in a row? I lost count. I was concentrating here. Sell channel, matching dynamic trend bands, pull back to the signal line. 63 drops down to 57 and shoots back up to 69. So this would have been the type of deal where you could have clipped, because of the counter trade channel lockdown, you could have clipped that trade out there short at 63. You could have clipped it for like 5 tick loss rather than the full 13. They come back in here, hit the sell side, all the dynamic trend bands matching, pull back signal line, 10 ticks down there. Coming across over here, nothing going on here. Didn't get the trade set up because it was missed by, didn't set up in time to get the trade. Whipsaw here, no sell trade here. Matching dynamic trend bands here. Now what happened is, again, this is one of those things, and it happens once in a while. It's not uncommon. There's one here too, where the algorithm shows the new buy channel opening, and just a millisecond after that, the pullback, the signal line is occurring, so it's going to mark them both. But you don't want to take those. You just wait till after uh, the band closes. Okay, so no trade here because it immediately formed a fat channel with a big spike on the upside, so just forget that one. No matching dynamic trend bands or crossover here. You see that? Nothing going on. You're a real expert at this now, I'll bet, watching this video. You're going to understand Boomerang. You're going to love trading with it every day. It's going to be an amazing career for you. And I'll be here for a long, long time. Been around 16 years in the industry and not going anywhere. Buy channel, matching dynamic trend bands. Right here, it's under that DTB number 2. You can see it. Pull back the signal line. Up they go for 10 ticks. I think that's our 8th winning trade in a row, and one with a minor stop. We cut the stop close because of the candle, that lockdown. Crossover, exactly at the crossover in this candle. You get the pullback to signal line here at 85. 85, 9th winning trade in a row. Coming into the closing portion here, dynamic trend bands matching. They're going straight down. We had a buy reversal here, not a buy signal, but just the market tried to flip. They went back into the sell mode, hit the sell signal, came down for another 10 points, and then coming into the close here, again, crossover, new buy channel, pull back to the signal line, and that's long at 50, and 50 shoots up to 66 at this point, so along in there he took 10. So on the 7th, it looks like, it just going from memory here, we had, what, 9 or 10 winning trades, and one got stopped out for 5 ticks. So I just wanted to have that on the record there. As we get ready now, this is all Globex trading, and Boomerang works round the clock. You can see the winning trades with the same configuration, but I don't recommend trading in those after hours because you just don't have the full force of the whole market trading along with you, but it does work. You can see them here, 10 ticks, 10 ticks, no trade there, 10 ticks here, 10 tricks. Well, this one actually missed carving out the trade. It wasn't ready. It was pre-market anyway. I'm just showing it. And then now, coming into the 545, here's 544, 540, new sell channel, all matching dynamic trend bands. Here's 540, right after the 545 when you want to start. Here's your first winning trade there. And let me start this up here. And same deal. Yep, there we go. Working good, working good. Love the Ninja replay system. It's fantastic. So one trade there, winning trade there for the 28th. There's 14 of them that I have on record here. And I don't want this tape to get too long. I know we're running into close to probably about 2 hours, and I don't want it to get too lengthy. I want to make sure that YouTube will upload it for us. So what I'm going to do is try to fly through some of these trades here. And so we had that one. Let's see if we can get going here. I want to do some of them live though. I want you to see them live. 10 times speed seems to work okay. It's way too fast for reality based because the market does not move that fast. But we want to I want you to see the okay, matching dynamic trend bands, right? Lock down, pull back to the signal line, 4508 by 6 here. Okay, 4508. So we're looking for 4518 on the upside. We're live here. Well, on the recording, 4506 to 8 entry. So we're going to measure 8, jump to 18 to give us 16 to 18 to give us 8 to 10 ticks here. Let's see if that price can fly up to. We're looking for it to run up to 18. Oh, they just shot up to the moon. So there was 10 ticks on that. You saw that live from the recording. This is from the just a recording of the live session on the 28th. That was today. Today is the 28th, by the way, that I'm making this tape. This is today's session on crude oil. So let's kind of keeping an eye on things here. I'm going to speed it up just a little bit here, see if we can get closer to a setup occurrence. Then I'll pause it and go back to the 10 ticks. I just don't want this tape to run too long. I know you've seen a lot of examples, and I'm very appreciative of you watching our video here, but I just want to make this effective for all of us. And this was a buy trade right here at 31, and it shot up to 42. Do you see that? I have it going on hyper speed. Let me slow it down a little bit here. Want to make sure you see that? Matching dynamic trend bands, buy long here, little pullback, long around 31. They came down to 26, and then 31 shot up to 42 for 10 ticks. That's why you got to grab that 8 to 10 ticks. I mean, I spent many years figuring this out. It wasn't just willy-nilly. I wanted it to be the best system in the world, and right now we have made history. Literally, Boomerang's the first and only trading software that guarantees 90% winning trades on select U.S. stock index contracts and on the crude oil. But you got to follow these rules that I'm showing you here, because the rules are going to help you to make those excellent returns. That's all that counts. I just want you to be a winner in the markets and make a lot of money, and then tell your friends about Boomerang. That's the way you can help me make a lot of money. You don't have to send me tickets to Maui or anything. Of course, if you want to, you can. And I've got them before, so that's no big deal. But I'm just saying, I just would prefer you made a lot of money and took care of your family, helped charities out, stuff like that. Tell your friends to buy Boomerang who want to trade. So this would be the market just would not have been a short trade right there. They got whipsawed and went crazy up there. Some report came out. Wednesdays are at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. This report comes out, so everything kind of slows down. And this right here at this exact time, the crude oil report comes out, and the market goes nuts. And that's what happened here. Now, you can see that there was a buy set up in here. The buy arrow came in. They shot up, and I had it going even more than 10 times, so I didn't get a chance to change it in time. But yes, that crude oil reports comes out every Wednesday. Everybody's waiting for that. That's why they're just dibble dabbling here. And at a tenth of that speed, you could have easily caught this buy signal right here at 45, and they shot up to 64 within 45 seconds, I think, 1 minute. Okay, so let's continue. I forgot to mention that to you, but now you know. Now you know. So now we got the dynamic trend bands crossing over, right? Is it flat? Yes. Flat dynamic trend band. So short would be right here at 56. You go up here and you measure, it's flat, sell, and you're going to have plenty of time when they're trading normally because I got them on such high speed. Your short would have been right there at 56. See that? Flat dynamic trend line crossover. Right on the crossover, that permissions you to take a sell if it's crossing in the downside, obviously, and on the upside, crossing on the upside. But sell channel, they crossed, and one of these, they're both the same price, 56, and 56 dropped down to 40 right here. Pretty amazing, isn't it? You can see 90% winning trades. Very, very excellent. And once you get in the nuts and bolts of doing this, you're going to have to really learn how to trade. But Boomerang will do the figuring out for you. Your part is getting the trades on. Normally, with other systems and methods and all that, you're sitting there and you got to figure everything out. Then say, yeah, I think this looks like the right trade. Okay, you get your courage up. I'm going to go for it. Then you get the right setup, boom, and you hit it. And then you're stuck guessing on whether it looks like it's going to go. You ever heard this? It looks like it's going higher. Yeah, until it goes lower. It looks like they're going lower here. Yeah, until they stop, shoot up higher, and reverse completely. And then you're going, wow. They looked like they're going higher, but all of a sudden they got blasted on the downside. You don't speculate with Boomerang. You make a living. You come in and try to make a living. That's the way to hit them. But what you're seeing live here over these 3 days, yesterday, the 27th, I did it on the still charts, but it's the same thing. These dots are going to print there, and I could go back a year, and the dot that printed at that time in sales, I could draw up a time in sales from some brokerage firm or something. It's going to have that the market on that candle went to that signal line price and printed. It's going to be there. It's permanent. These aren't getting printed because the moving averages are moving around, and I know that they do that, but I'm saying this is different. Because Boomerang, the rules are fixed, and the software prints it exactly where it should be on the signal line. And once in a while there's a little glitch, but it's so rare. But that's just because everything's flying around so fast. And like I said, the one glitch we had earlier, that was only because I'm running it on 10 times speed, and it's throwing the printing off a little bit. That's normal. A lot of replay systems have little difficulties, but boy, I'm telling you, this Ninja Market replay is really solid, really good, excellent. And if you ever had a problem with it or anything, you just email them and they'll help you fix it. But it's virtually been seamless, and I've been using Ninja for, I would venture, let's see, probably 8 or 9 years, I believe. 8 years, quite a long time since they really got going. Um, it's wonderful to see their progress and everything. Okay, matching dynamic. Well, look though, common sense says we've had a big run on the downside. Will they move lower? We do have sell channel and a sell signal right here at 14. So can 14? Well, DTB number one is still. It's kind of blinking on and off. So we got watching for 14 to roll back lower, but it might be a problem because it's blinking. It's hard to tell exactly. So in that case, the best thing to do would just hold it here. Let's see if 14 can take them down lower here. 14 running 04 is the goal of the trade. 14 running 04. Let's see if they can hit them a little lower. But common sense would say, boy, this is kind of a has run market here, so you might not get that fuller punch, but the crude oil sure tends to trend nicely. So if you're watching this live, you might say, well, I like the short side here, but it looks like it's already run a lot. Maybe you could speculate a little and get out of the trade, either at break even, and that would have been a good idea, I think. Again, the setup's calling for a lower move down to 04, but just looking at this here, you'd have to kind of scratch your head a little and say, I don't know, maybe just common sense and trade. This market has made a pretty hard drop down here. So we're just watching for the next trade setup here, and let's see what we get going here. What am I running it at? I'm only running it at 2 times speed. So let's kick it up here a little bit. And with the DTBs crossing over now, watching for a buy setup. There it is. Well, no. We're not flat in the dynamic trend band number 1 yet. It's flat here. So long 19, and again, sorry, but I got them running so fast here. 19, looking for a jump up to 29. Maybe they get stopped out, but we're looking for 19 to jump to 29. See, that dynamic trend band's still not flat enough. That was my mistake there. See, even I make mistakes. But you're going long here was wrong, because the truth is the dynamic trend band, it was very close to flat. Let's just say it was a long trade that got stopped out, but with a move like this, you can see that it was flat, not even quite flat at that dot here. So yeah, it stopped out, no big deal. And here's a sell here, matching dynamic trend bands. Here's a sell signal that happened while I was explaining that one. So you never worry about getting stopped out, because there's always a trade around the corner. Looking back in hindsight, that might have been one to just avoid. But let's say it got stopped out, so what? That happens in futures trading, doesn't it, once in a while? Well, with Boomerang, it is just once in a while, and that's what's exciting, is you don't have to struggle as much with the market. So, and again, once stopped out, it just handed us another winner to make up for it. So now we're watching for, again, I got it running on high speed because I want to end this webinar here pretty quick. We're still technically got, what do we got here? 8, 9. There's still about 3 hours left of markets. And if I run it on high speed, you'll be able to see the markets set up, and I'll just try to narrate it so you can see Boomerang working live. If that's the one thing holding you back from buying it, I'm really hoping that this tape today helped convince you that this is the way to go if you want to get in and make some money and let Boomerang do all the work for you. Picture yourself coming to work, you come to your trade desk, and you just go, I don't have to sit down and study my notes and figure it. I mean, you study notes a little bit, but it's so simple. There's not much to know, and you're just going to go in there, and Boomerang's going to do all the work for you, and you just have to push the buy or sell buttons when the trade sets up correctly, and it's going to make life a lot easier. So let's see what we got here, and watch and see what happens over the next couple hours here. They're still crunching them lower here. Boy, this crude oil, remember that day? I remember that. This was today. They just kept selling off, and they came back. But look at how active this thing is. Even though crude's lower and there's no big deal going on, there's just lots of speculation because everybody's still around the world. They're mostly using the gas and the oil to drive these cars and run things. So got to, it's a nice active contract for many, many, many years ahead for you. And no sell signals here. See, it's all these. It doesn't matter though. Now they're crossed over. Maybe they're going to try to scoop them back up here. So we're just kind of watching now. Let's see what we got here. Let's see if we get some kind of buy signal coming in possibly. Okay. Flat dynamic trend band number 1. Or number 2, buy channel. Let's let it close. Got to see, that's why we let it close, because it blinked out. You don't just trade because the arrow's on. You got to let that candle close, relax, let it close, and wait for the exact right setup. You see how that was ready to set up a buy signal, it looked like, but then things shifted. So that's all right. Just let them close. Watch your tick meter when you get an arrow forming. Let that candle close. Boy, they're pounding the crap out of the crude oil today. I was mostly trading the mini NAS, and a lot of today I was standing aside because I was watching in my Day Traders Action Live room. We trade the mini NASDAQ, and it's all about the stock market, right? I make stock recommendations, and we analyze the directional force in the market, the bias, and all that. So Janet Yellen was in a testimony today, so I was just standing aside, and we made a couple trades later after that. But then, you know, usually when these Fed guys are in the market, not for crude oil, but in the mini NAS, when the Fed guys are in the market, these meetings or whatever, you got to just kind of, they screw everything up. They get in there and everything gets all weird and people start speculating out of control. That's okay, but I'm just saying it's, you got to let them let those days kind of pass by. Okay, buy channel locked on, matching dynamic trend bands, pullback sig line is going to give us a trade here. Let's see what we get here. Okay, we're long here at 54, and we're looking for a jump up to 64. Long at 54, looking for a jump up to 64. Yeah, they're going nuts here. What can we do? Let's see if we can jump them up here. See if we can get them going back on the upside. 54 is still long, and we're looking for a jump up to 64. Let's see if they can punch them to the upside. They've really sold off a lot. They should be able to ideally jump back up here. We're trying to get them to jump up to 64. We're long right here at that 54 action, and we're trying to get them to jump up to 64, 65 area. Let's see if we can do it here. 61 high, 61 high, 65, 66. Crunch. There they go. So we got another winner there on Boomerang. And I know you've seen a lot of good examples today of the trading action. And there's a bunch more time left in the session, but because I want to keep this a little short so that it'll make sure and upload on YouTube, feel terrible if it didn't. Then I wouldn't have this to share with you and your friends. So we're going to go ahead and end the session right here. And I really thank you for joining with us, and I hope you liked what I presented to you today. I showed you all the rules. We talked about fat channels, making sure the dynamic trend band was flat, using the cursor on there, and covered a lot of the rules. Make sure, and again, watch my audit report here for 2 straight weeks of audits of the trades with all the breakdowns and everything, and it'll really show. Now I say 12 ticks on this. Don't worry about it. You can see we hardly ever hit that, but I say 13 now. But just use 13. I think 13 is a little better. 12's good, but I did some more research. There's a couple that might have just barely held, but anyway, it's not a big deal. So I really want to thank you for joining with us today. And again, go to boomerangtrader.com. You can sign up there for free, and I'll put you on my mailing list. And every time I send out a notice, you'll get the notice that we're having a webinar. We usually hold them on Wednesdays, every 2 weeks, Wednesday after the market closes. And you'll always be updated if I post anything else here on Boomerang. And thank you very much. We sure look forward to hearing from you. And you can contact me at mohan@daytradersaction anytime if you have any questions on anything. So thanks very much for joining with us today, and have a wonderful rest of the evening.